The Neutral Zone, with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to thank Maui Arts and Music Association, Dreammakers Foundation of Maui, for their support. Since 1991, with hundreds of television shows and their MauiArtsandMusic.com website, they have championed self-sustainability on Maui. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. and replayed Saturday at 7 a.m. on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Hey, it's 11 o'clock on Monday. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host, and we're here at the Neutral Zone. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many men sold away. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and faith. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his face. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what puzzling you is the nature of my game. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Schwartz. We're here on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. And this is the Neutral Zone, where we're anything but neutral. Or here we are in Neutral Zone. You know, when I started this show, it was a concept about this son of a zone where everyone could talk and no one's there to really cut each other up, and I was going to do politics. And then over time, I've had a lot of guests, and I'm going to run through them today. Hi there. We're going to run through them today and why I had them on and where we're going from here. We're going to be doing more television and maybe less radio. We'll see. You know, radio and TV go well together. Sometimes 11 o'clock Monday is a rough spot to get some of my guests because it's prime time, which is why we had it before. And the reason we chose this originally was because Shaggy Jenkins, our then program guy, host with the most, who's on another radio station now, of course. Many people know Shaggy. Well, he was on every day. And so at 11 o'clock, we were getting assigned shows, and I thought Monday would be a good day. It has been good, but it limits some of the people. Like I was just looking outside. One of the people I want as a guest who will be on, Lucienne Dene, who has her own show here at Akaku TV, Crossroads. She's got a show every couple of weeks, and she's been doing that for years. She's a wonderful champion of things in our community. She was talking to Harry Donenfeld, another guest. He had a meeting. She's getting ready to testify and getting a post in about water. We've got all kinds of things and people that will be here on radio and TV, but 11 o'clock Monday may not suit. So I may switch this at the end of this month and go to TV format, and we'll see where it all goes. Unless we get sponsors that say, oh, yeah, you should put those on at 11 o'clock, and then they promote it, and we'll see. To be continued. But I want to go over what I've been doing with you guys and what many of you have been doing back to me this last year. This Neutral Zone was really, I like to say, a new cover on the same book. I'm still Jason Schwartz, who 25 years ago ran for mayor as the Green Party guy. And now people are saying maybe your ideas, you're just in time. Before maybe we're all ahead of our time. But, you know, the world has to come to a place of critical mass where ideas are heard and where people recognize that they are the solution. You know, you've heard it, if it's going to be, it's going to be me. You know, who are we looking for? We're waiting for. It's us. It's just our awareness as it's getting there. Well, I've had a really wonderful time doing these shows. And like I say, our guest next week is Councilman Shane Sinensi, who is going to be a great guest. We were going to have today Keamoku Kapu, but obviously he's involved with Mauna Kea and the Hawaiians and their quest. I guess a lot of people, not only Hawaiians, it's quest of many, many people to be sacred at the top of the mountain on the next island over here. Anyway, so we're seeing where things go. But 11 o'clock Monday, we'll see. I'm suddenly hearing like a vibrator go off. I don't know what that is. Anyway, they're probably working on something here in the building. This building, which is in, I guess it's called the Akaku Media Center, has not only television production and has this radio station, KAKU. It has different tenants here, and things are changing, and it's got a beautiful solar system outside. They must be working on something. Anyway, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I'm just going to continue on. Anyway, I'm just really feeling like when Keamoku couldn't make it, I thought, okay, who do I want? So I called Kalekoa, and he's busy also. Obviously, these guys are very busy. Then I said, who would be in the right same theme? So someone said, what about Leohu? So we contact Leohu's off island till tomorrow, so she'll be a guest. I thought, let's see, Leohu. How about Luana? Luana Godinez is teaching a course about abundance and a very wonderful 40-day program and power of intention. And but she's going to be on Gutsy Women, another show here on KAK. She's going to be on this Friday with Amora St. John. So, where was I thinking? What am I going to do for today? And then I said, well, I spoke to another friend who we talked about Susan Teton. I tried to get Shan Satsui, but he didn't get back to me yet. He's the guy from Mahi Pono. We'd like to see him here. And then Susan's getting on a plane, so I thought, well, let me come on and talk to people about what's up, because I've had guests, and sometimes they seem like they're all over the map. Well, I'm a neutral, meaning I keep myself pretty relaxed about the direction of the show. I know that my guests really create the complexion of what we're going to talk about, and if I can get them comfortable, they'll talk about their passion, and these are interesting people. And so over time, I've brought you people that are active in some way, doing things in our community. That's another thing for me redoing. You guys know me showing off others. Ta-da! I feel like Vanna White from, what's that show? I forgot the show. The Spinning Show. Anyway, that's very funny. But I have a lot to offer and things that I want to do, and so I want to start talking about them and bringing people on and doing them, both here and in television, to be able to bring the neutral zone and show it on TV. We're showing some of our radio shows now. This is show number 56 or 7 next week, and then we have Labor Day, so it's a good time for a transition for me. So we'll see where this comes, and if you're on television, you'll say, oh, it's just another show. If you're on radio, you may see us in a different time slot, or you may see things shifting a little bit. So be it. But that's why we created that logo, that red dot that bounced in with a little lightning bolt, because everyone wants to, kind of break the bubble. But I think that the bubble can't be broken, because the bubble is love. If we come from a place where we all drop all our differences and come together, we're going to solve everything. And that's what we do here. I'm looking over here, and I don't see it says KAKU. Maybe it says it over here, does it? Oh, it does. It does. Well, I have enjoyed being on this radio station. People have said, well, Jason, you should be doing this as a podcast. A radio station is like, we have a radio station here called KAKU FM, 88.5 FM. And if you're within sight of this radio station, and I don't know how far, you can get 88.5 FM. There's a program that I have on my Apple phone. I imagine it's on the Windows and Google's. It's called TuneIn. Now, TuneIn, it's free for me, but many stations, including this one, make themselves available so you can press and have a favorite and press that button and get KAKU anytime. But surely Monday at 11 at this point, Monday at 11. But people have said, Jason, you should do a podcast. And, that's the direction. It may be that's the direction. But I feel part of this family. It's just a matter of working out the logistics and making it make the most sense. But we have been determined to bring on good guests. So I'm going to show you some of these guests again. And I'm running this because I think it's important that you see that these guests are all chosen because they have, I think, something to say. They're all different and available in putting themselves on the line with their opinions. And not only their opinions, but many of them take action, which we're going to do. We're going to show you how MAMA, which we've been talking about, Maui Arts and Music Association, and PAPA, People Aligned in Positive Action. That's the next piece you're going to be seeing. And that's what's going to be activated here. But you'll see it because you're part of it. Anyway, when I started this show, my first guest was Nikhil Ananda. And then I realized I had to have equal time for all candidates, so I went to values. And the first thing that was in my face was Deborah Green. Deborah Green was talking to me about the dangers of 5G and smart meters. And that was June 18th of last year, 2018. And then I had met through Merritt, guy in our Mankind Project group. I went up to his Hawaiian halal that he was working and dancing with and met Jeff Murray, a retiring fire captain. And he was a wonderful guest, wonderful guy. Then I spoke to a guy named Ron Fogel, who's helped people that have been homeless to straighten out some of the incredible things, and they're constantly still happening with homelessness and with people that have things like a cut that becomes staph and they don't have hospitalization or medical. They go to emergency. Most often they're not taken in as patients. They're let out to the door while they're sick and injured. It's a real big problem. That was Ron Fogel. That was a really interesting interview. All of these are on MauiNeutralZone.com. I have them, and that's where I'm looking, actually. But they're also all on YouTube. You can find them by my name and Maui Neutral Zone and the name of the guests. But I know Sam Small has Maui Causes. Sam has been dedicated to making our community better, and he has a lot of fire. He's a very talented guy, has done a lot of research, and really, I want to say, overturns a lot of stuff. I used to say, that what Pundi Yoguchi told me. Pundi is the now statue. He told me, we don't look under the carpet. There's a lot of stuff that happened here in Maui in the past. Sam looks under the carpet. Anyway, good guy. He was on our show. And then we had Steve Rose, who runs the Lapoa Farmers Market. He's also the founder of the Maui Hemp Institute, and all the uses of hemp and things that have been going on. Still can't deny it's been in our world. How many, you remember when it used to be, controversial? Now it's really getting less and less controversial and more openly beneficial. It's a very interesting transition. We even have this less than an eighth of an ounce kind of a thing for Hawaii, where it becomes a ticket rather than a jail kind of thing. That's a whole thing. That was Steve is on. But again, CBD and hemp is a different thing than cannabis and marijuana. But we had Brian Murphy on talking about that. I also had Brother Brad Kosman, who has been homeless, has worked with Jan Dapitan and the Keep America Beautiful project, has worked with homeless people in formal and informal things, helping more than dozens and dozens of people in different situations that couldn't get into homeless shelters or had difficulties that didn't fit in parameters. You know, we have a growing, so he was on. And then I had Paul Delorier, who ran the Maui Pono Network. He still is, I'm sure. Paul is a very dynamic leader who was also a very interesting interview. Then I had Nick Drance. We've had the Maui Miracle.org as a sponsor. They were one of our original sponsors here during election time. In fact, he's still a very passionate guy, Nick Drance, and wanting to see, to the best of his ability, that Maui doesn't get shafted and lose its mana and not be respectful to its host culture, and to turn it into a Los Angelesification, as he calls it. We had a couple of interviews with Nick. That one was way in August of last year. Well, then I was talking about the elections. I see we're almost getting to break time. We had an election. We had Ellie Cochran, who was on council and very dynamic leader on council, doing rather bold things with a, quote, a more conservative council, one that took action, but took action in conservative, slower steps, often deferring and studying more than taking action kind of council. We hope to have some of those people and other people. Like, I really like Ricky Hokam. I look forward to having him here. I haven't followed too closely on things, but I liked him. I saw him grow from a rookie to a seasoned guy who's had major experience nationally and internationally with all the mayors, and also has done a real good job here on being real tight about budget. Well, now with all the things happening, and I have ideas, we're going to have a fun time talking. And Alice Lee, I remember when I was running for mayor, Alice was running in the primary against, I think maybe it was that year or the next, that she ran against Kimo Apana in the primary. But Alice is a very dynamic, both council member and former mayoral candidate, but she was also in Department of Housing and Human Concerns. She'll be interesting to have on. And I look forward to having Yukile Sugimura on and Mike Molina on the show. But those are people that are in government, and the mayor, I hope the mayor will grace us with his time and presence. You know, these guys have other media that run after them, so we'll see how and what schedules meet. I like to meet private sector people here, like Chad Goodfellow and other people in the community that have resources and assets, and run some ideas by them that we could do together and encourage new and dynamic solutions where the government follows in their creation of something as an incentive that we in the private sector can propose and do. Well, we'll talk about all that as we go along. But anyway, and then I had, after that show, I still have time, Nelson Armitage, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the reinstated lawful Hawaiian government, was on, and we were talking about sovereignty rights in the future in the spirit of aloha. We hope to have Nelson Armitage again. I hoped this was going to be a week really given to honoring the situation up there at Mauna Kea. You know, I've seen many forms of people with flags. My lady friend Ariel has a piece of jewelry with a pearl and the umbilical cord of all the babies that were born, that were buried up there, and representing the mountain. And there's a lot of people that have really honored that situation. That's what we were going to do this week. So, and you could hear in the kind of guests I want. Leo Ryder is such a beautiful and wonderful leader. You know, someone who, I want to say, crosses all the bridges, whether her friends are Ram Dass or whether she's going to the UN or Hawaiian groups or Unity, or I've seen her all over here in Hawaii, and her music, and she's got a wonderful partner, Maydeen, who I also think is just really incredible lady. Anyway, she'll be gone. But Nelson Armitage was on, and he had someone with him. We'll have him again. Lisa Darcy. Now, Lisa Darcy has Share Your Mana. It's 11:20. We'll be on a little more, then we'll take a break. Now, Share Your Mana is, Lisa used to be the head of a foundation that was sponsored really by Peter Martin, and they're on the west side. And Lisa was trying to get good use for homeless people, to have different kinds of solutions on the west side. And there were different questions about where these things were and what it would do in a community and whatever. But Lisa's been very committed to helping people that are challenged, whether it's be homeless or have health challenges. She's worked different places in the system. So she has a foundation that she works through called Share Your Mana Foundation. We had her on way back in last year. She just had a concert yesterday that Nirja, Heather Parsons, and her choirs did as a fundraiser for Share Your Mana. Anyway, we also had Stuart Stant and Mike Miyamoto, who were at the County Department Office of Economic and Environment, really the Office of Environmental Management, the crap and the trash. And now we have new people there. We'd love to get them on again. Maybe that's a great interview we can do. Again, with TV in different times, we can go and do different coverage. When we had Mama Presents, we're going to do more shows this year. We're going to be doing Sages of Our Ages. You hear and met Jim Loomis a couple of times. Jim is a great example of a sage of our age, or other people who are really important to have in a spotlight. We hope to have that show and be roaming around. All these under the brand of MAMA, Maui Arts and Music Association, and PAPA, People Aligned in Positive Action. Well, we are going to be talking in future about fundraising, cooperation between public access TV and MAMA. You know, we have projects, and the way that all this can work and how it can all work together and use the branding of art and music, Maui Arts and Music, and People Aligned in Positive Action to be dream makers and showcase to the world all the art and the culture. We can raise a lot of money so that the places for venues don't have to have as much expenses, because we have global, attention and cash flow dollars, and they'll see what we can do here through cooperation. And some of these people on the show, Stuart Stanton, Mike Miyamoto, that was a very, very good interview. That was 9/10 of 2018. Now, both of those guys are off doing different things, but we'll visit them again. I'd like to. And then, and also the Environmental Management Department. Robin Knox, she was a researcher and certified qualified environmental professional, and her specialty is water. And she was on talking about all kinds of stuff, including the wastewater issues. And we've heard that of late, of how many people want the county to lose on a suit so that there's no diminishment of a national law that restricts environmental polluters. Bottom line, that's a really good show. You'll see talking about that. Robin Knox, very, very smart lady, very nice lady. A lot to offer. And now these are people that, again, they still exist in our community. That's what's so great about this. We're doing it here. I'm showcasing people, but for a reason. And I'll continue and show you how this all ties together. We're going to go and get to the sponsors and then come back, and I'll show you something else here. Watch. The Neutral Zone with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to sincerely thank David Bryan for his support. David was founder and head of school at New Road School in Santa Monica, California, and is the board chair at the Ojai Foundation and on the board for Brave New Films. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. here on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, and again on Saturdays at 7 a.m., as well as on TV and on MauiNeutralZone.com.
Get a jump on protecting Maui's coral reefs. No need to wait for Hawaii's new sunscreen law to go in effect. This is Archie Kalepa asking you to make the switch today to sunscreens that do not contain reef-harming oxybenzone or octanoxate. Find out about better choices at mauireefs.org/sunscreen. Sponsored with aloha by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, Maui Visitors Bureau, and the County of Maui Office of Economic Development.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Steve Summers. Join me Sunday mornings from 1 to 2 a.m. with a replay Sunday mornings from 10 till 11 for the Oldies Time Machine. It's familiar oldies from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, plus some of those rare tracks you won't hear on any other radio program. Right here on KAKU 88.5, the voice of Maui.
Hi, I'm Jason Schwartz, host of The Neutral Zone. KAKU is a listener-supported station. This means that all of the great programs you hear, like mine, are sponsored by you as well as our underwriters. If you would like to help keep the voice of Maui talking loud and clear, go to kakufm.org/donate today and give. And don't miss The Neutral Zone Mondays at 11 a.m. on 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Well, we're back. I'm Jason Schwartz, and we're at the Neutral Zone. You know, I'm reviewing some of our past shows, and I'm going from number 1. I'm now up to 14. We had Robin Knox, Sea Lily, the researcher and water scientist. Really important. And who was next? Then I had Rob Parsons. Now, Rob was the environmental coordinator. I imagine he could still be the environmental coordinator here for the county of Maui and global environmental conference he had just come back with. Rob is a very talented guy and very wonderful guy. I know him and his wife, Heather, for, oh gosh, at least north of 20 years, maybe 25 years. Way back when. And Rob's a really heartfelt guy, and he's really been a cornerstone as our former mayor, Arakawa, kind of put his direction into environmental. In my mind, he really relied on Rob Parsons, and I hope that he's still a very valuable part of that team. Things are always in our world. And then I had a guy on who was going to be on today, actually, Keimoku Kapu, who was running for the OHA seat. He has so much to say, and he's always got so much to say. Really, I think of him as an important leader in the Hawaiian movement. I hope to have him on again in some place, whether it's TV or radio or however it be, podcast. We'll see where we end up. We shouldn't say end up because we're doing it right now. And then I had Paul Deloria, the Pono Network guy. We did an interview and we talked about values. That was interesting also. Again, when I think of those groups, I think of them as special interest groups, even though I believed most everything that they were talking about. I didn't like the fact that it felt like it was alienating others who, in my mind, just didn't understand the issues, or they would be very hard-pressed to be voting against those things. So I always found those special interest groups to be pointing out problems because they couldn't get movement from people in the seats. Well, this is still before the election, so... And then I had Mark Sheehan. Mark Sheehan had a group called SAFE, Mark has been an active realtor, but he's also been an active activist about all kinds of public issues, environmental ones. I can't even think of the number of issues where Mark has been a champion here and stood up in the face of really strong opposition, but he's really been a backbone of the environmental movement here, along with others, and you'll see them here in the show and some coming too. Like, when I think of that, I think about Lucien Dene, I think about Al Perez. Lucien's coming up, Al was already on. Here there's a guy named Michael Victorino, 29th of October. We can take a look at what Mike Victorino was promising and what he was thinking about then. And, MauiNeutralZone.com has links there to all our shows. They're all on YouTube. And we hope to see all of these shows as a resource so you get a chance to now look back in our history and use this as a gateway and a doorway to the new things that we're going to be doing on TV and on the net and podcasts. But we're not sure. I want to do music, so that's the direction I want to go. But I want to get these shows going on with music and art. There's a West Maui business. They'll be on here soon. There's a guy named Trevor who has the Fuzz Box, which is a recording studio on the west side of Maui. And I've watched how they've done productions and been involved in television shows and gigs at the MAC for years. So I'm looking to coordinate with them and other people for numbers of these hotels and large venues, both in the west and the south. There's a lot coming up. And many of the people that you'll see in these shows are participants and will be participants in this. The more that we all see what this is and say yes, 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 the more the big sponsors will rally and the locations will become available and this whole plan can come together. So it's nice to see we were speaking to Victorino when he was talking about what he was going to do and why him now being mayor would accomplish certain things that he couldn't do as a private citizen. Let's find out. Let's see how he can help us as private citizens do more of what we want to do. Like if we want to make homelessness go away, let's talk to people in the private sector, maybe on the show here, to show them how they can do things and how we can get tax credits and incentives from the government to encourage these private sector people to do the things we need to solve these problems. I know it's doable, and I think that many of you know it's doable. Let's look at some of these people. I'm looking at the time. We have plenty of time. I think it's funny that the people that were out here, Lucien Dene was going to meet Lauren Pang from the Department of Health because she's going to be testifying about water. I wanted to talk to Lauren Pang about bringing him on the show, and he's busy on Monday mornings, and here he is with Lucien and Harry, who has this place is just beaming with stuff. I want to start being part of the next piece, which is putting our teeth into getting some of these things done. So we'll interview people and continue that format, but we're going to also bring people on who are private sector who have the capacity to get some of these things done and can suddenly align with we, the people, aligned in positive action. That's what this show, we hope, is going to take to the next step. And that's what the Neutral Zone was set up for, to be able to be a format, to bring all of these great people together to accomplish things that seemed unaccomplishable because there were too many sides. Well, we're taking down those sides. We're trying to bring it back to doing what is right and true. And I think that's what you're going to see. So here we are. I'm talking away, but we got time today. I like that. Anyway, we have there are a couple of shows where I was talking about direction. There was one where they lost the picture, so you can see that one, but we were talking about the election. And then we had the after-election show where we kind of debriefed the election. And then we had Councilwoman Tasha Kama, who last minute couldn't make it. So we had a caller named Donnie, who we spoke a good while. That was really good. And we spoke in that show about HHO and the hydrogen and what's happening in health and the incredible revolution in health. And then we had a couple of trainees who were going to be radio station DJs. You may have seen that show. They were fun to be on with. And then I brought Sam Small. Now that the election was over, I thought to bring Sam on, and we're going to have Sam again. Sam has his own show, so I don't want to ever jump in and anyway stop what he's doing. Or Lucienne, same way. But I think that by bringing these guys onto this show, we can cross-pollinate viewership on all of this and all of these things to be able to better serve the community. Somewhere along the line, I hope to be brought into the financial loop, which is why I always ask about sponsorship. And we're going to talk about that for sure. But so here at that was show 25. Now we're at 56, so we got a lot of shows to go. Then it was Christmas time, and I had the Maui Choral Arts Group led by Gary Levitt on, and we had Louise Lambert, Peace in Our Hearts, and then we got preempted by Christmas and New Year's. And then we had Kelly King, the chairman of our county council, on. She'll be on again, and we hope to have Kiani also, Kiani Rollins-Fernandez, and Tamara Paulton. We hope to have all the council people and the mayor again, but we also encourage our private sector. Tapani Vuore, who's done a great job at the Maui Ocean Center. That sphere is such a terrific place. If you haven't gone, you should go to the Maui Ocean Center and get and see that sphere. Or Marty Dredd, I hear him on the commercials all the time for the Maui Ocean Center. I'm so happy to live in this community. We have such nice people. We hear them and see them on radio and on TV. Tapani Vuore and the Maui Ocean Center, such a great location to hang out. They have music and things there all the time. That's a great resource place. Speaking of resources, January we had Lyons Naone, who's a guy who lives in Hana. We all know Lyon has been sharing and teaching Lau Lapa'au, not only here but in throughout the world. His spiritual direction is teaching about Hawaiian herbs. He's gone to Europe. He has a beautiful life and a beautiful wife. He's a wonderful man. We're going to have him on. I think that people on our show, we're all working together. So then we had Paul Gautel, who's the author of a book called The Big U. Paul was a success in the music business in Britain. A big success, actually. And he went on a spiritual quest, and his book is very, very helpful. It's a kind of a self-help book, but he has workshops. Really, really, he's a really nice guy, very dynamic guy. I didn't even realize I had this hat on. How do you know? And here we are. We were in February. I had Nick Drance on again. Nick has been passionate again, wanting Maui not to be Los Angeles, and he really has voiced himself again. This one was mostly about water issues and the complexion of Wailuku. I've seen Wailuku in the planning for many years. In fact, I remember when Erin Wade, before she was there, maybe when she was just beginning in the planning department, who's developing that downtown Wailuku thing. I think Akaku has that, or just had that, where Erin came up and explained about that Wailuku parking situation. A lot of dynamics going on there, but I think we all want Maui to stay Maui, and we also want to have what we need to have to stay current and functioning in the world. I think we can do it. I think that you think we can do it too. So Nick was on. He was on expressing himself. And then I turned the corner another way. I looked and I said, okay, what about Dr. Sasha Lesson? Many of you who've been watching these highways for years have seen this glasses on and off. I can see the screen with the glasses. Without them, I'm a little fuzzy. But today it's pretty easy, so we don't need it all the time. So that's why it's on and off. Sasha Lesson drives a bicycle, and he probably drives, I don't want to be funny here, but 15, 20 miles, maybe more, a day. He has been riding, and he goes to the gym also, but he's in his 70s and still fit as a fiddle, but he is also a doctor of anthropology. He's a doctor of the world of psychology, and he's traveled civilizations. He's worked with homeless and housing. He's a fast-paced, interesting guy, still at 77, a model of health. He was a very interesting interview. And then I had Kurt Butler. Kurt Butler. Through the years, many people know Kurt Butler as the guy that has complained. He was a writer and author, and he did a lot of investigative analysis. And this was before Internet. And he had an interesting time because he had a very difficult time getting his message out. So we gave him a chance. He wanted to talk about health. He didn't like acupuncturists, and he doesn't like alternative medicine and vitamin people who don't put proof along with what they say. So we heard him loudly. Some people agree with what he says, some don't. I thought he was pretty eloquent in what he was saying. He comes with a lot of anger, and we hope to take away that anger. I thought we did a pretty good job of having him on. I like him. He's actually a very nice man. And then we had an acupuncturist. We had Michael Howden. I felt very fortunate. Michael Howden, up in Kula Hospital, which is now managed by Kaiser, there's an area there, and you say, there's an acupuncturist here at the hospital? Michael has had an office up there and has worked with doctors as an acupuncturist for pain and other things for many years. He's really a talented guy, and we had him on. He was really wonderful. And then we had Bruce Leonard, who has his real specialty is herbs and self-defense and human sexuality and relationship counseling, and his Earth Medicine Institute. He was a really interesting interview. I think, again, because MauiNeutralZone.com, if you look David Bruce Leonard, Jason Schwartz, Maui, up it comes. If you put up a KAKU, Jason Schwartz, Bruce Leonard, acupuncture, plant medicine, up it will come, you know. Brian Cohn, who runs the creative media department at the University of Hawaii Maui College, was our next guest. Brian has been the writer and director of a few movies. One, Get a Job, which I always like. I always remember my old neighbor, David Sandell, dropping his art. How true to form. That was like classic David Sandell there in the movie. And Eric Gilliam and Willie Kay. Willie Kay playing a straight man, and Eric Gilliam playing an amazing character. And all the little cameo roles, and Kathy was in there. Very fun. And then he did Kuleana, which was a murder mystery. It had its comic relief. He brought in some of the same characters, showed Brian's style and writing, and now with him in creative media at the college, he's been able to bring in some wonderful people to be able to enhance his program. I hope that I can still be in school to take some of the programs. I hope I'm not out of school already, but Brian's teaching one called Finding Your Voice, a storytelling course, and then another of our guests, Barry Wurst, who's a really terrific film critic. He's going to be teaching mass media, and he teaches about film and different influences from different countries and directors. He was a really interesting guy. The ability to put together a clean technology and industry, to be able to do our radio and TV, to be able to support and act from here. I think there's an article in today's net, I saw this girl from Google, woman, who lived on Maui and worked 15 years in tech world, but 4 years has been working virtually and being able to work from Maui. So we want to build industries here, and so we need school and people that know what they're doing. So Brian Cohen, we had him on. Barry Wurst, we had him on. Both very interesting guys, very willing to help and create. Well, no, that was up to show number 36. Let's go to here, 37. You know, we still have time. I want to put it all together, but I just want you to see and hear what we've been doing. And we're going to be continuing, like I say, maybe a lot of the same interview style like we're doing here, but you'll be looking on TV and you'll be looking on the net for Maui Neutral Zone, Jason Schwartz, Maui Arts and Music Association, and all our people, because we all tie together in this one marketing effort called MAMA, Maui Arts and Music Association, and the Dream Makers Foundation. But we can bring in the Cultural Center, we can bring in anything and everything we want together and market to the world. When I started this, and we started the Maui Arts and Music Association, we were looking for key words as the internet was beginning, and there weren't too many more appropriate words than Maui, art, music. It had to do with what we had to do with. It showcased that we want to show off Maui's incredible talent to the world. Visual art, healing art, culinary art. We've got it all here. We've got great venues. We've got big hotels with rooms. We have big restaurants with rooms. We have the Cultural Center. We have outdoor arenas. We have the Maui Film Festival. We have the people like we see here with Barry and Brian. We have stars that live on island that will surely showcase and be part of what we're doing with Maui Arts and Music. Steven Tyler, Mick Fleetwood, Paul Simon now lives here. Barry Wurst was show number 37. 38, we had a recommendation. We have a wonderful hostess here at Akaku and KAKU, Susie Gastrain, who we had on actually in a show, came up. But she was talking to someone who came in here named Keith McCrary, and he was interesting. He was a cartoonist during the 60s in the Summer of Love, and he was a pastor of a church in San Francisco. That was in the 1960s, and he was an educator at Waldorf School for many, many years. He was a very interesting conversation. You can find that on here. See, we know that you're going to discover these shows now, and we'll turn people onto it and redirect them to these great people and to what we're all trying to do together. That's what we're doing here. We had Gary Levitt on. Gary is the director of the Maui Choral Arts Group. They have something coming up here in December 2019. I was part of a show they did and hope to be part of the next one. We'll see if I can put it into my schedule for rehearsals. But they have wonderful shows, and the WPAA, which is the Wailuku Performing Arts Organization, all the groups getting together and showcasing and talking about things together. Well, the WPAA, in my mind, has a big and prominent part in the Maui Arts and Music Association and in the showcasing and the networking of all that we're showing off to the world. Dwayne Elliott we had on next. Dwayne Elliott is an amazing man. I met him and his father, Sonny. I got involved with the Mankind Project, which is more than 90,000 men across the country that have gotten together and have explored what it means to be whole. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but to be comfortable and have the support of other men and to be able to break through challenges that may have happened in your earlier part of life and to feel support. And Dwayne is running a thing called Boys to Men that goes into high schools and prisons as well, but in high schools to be able to help boys that don't have fathers or have broken homes to be able to sit and talk in a circle and to be able to put together a way to bring love and openness and sharing out. So that was a great show. Dwayne is a wonderful man. He also supports a beautiful, talented wife, Indigo Ball, who I know from art and modeling, but she had a challenge and had a stroke, and Dwayne has been very supportive in supporting her back to her health. I bless them all the time. I know that we all do. But Dwayne is a really great thing, and Boys to Men in that program, that's worthy of a listen and involvement. Then I have a friend named Brian Murphy who ran a clinic here called Patients Without Time. That was a marijuana clinic where people that had these medical marijuana certificates but nowhere to get their stuff, their marijuana. Brian had it, and he went through some issues with the law, and that was quite a thing. But Brian is super knowledgeable about all of that stuff, about CBD oil, about all the different things that go along with it. Many years in legislation, and knowledgeable about it in all ways. And he's a talented and wonderful guy. We had a chance to interview him before he left with his partner Mary to the Big Island and their adventures. And then, speaking of adventures, Joan Hartfield was our guest. Joan Hartfield wrote a book called Romancing the Beloved, but many of you on Maui know her for many years. She has a partner named Tomas, and they have been teaching spiritual, sexual education, counseling, talking hearts and circles and personal journeys for years. And she is a really dynamic and wonderful, talented lady. I met her years ago and brought her on. She was wonderful. And then we were going to have Kimokeo Kapahuluhua, who couldn't make it, so we played some terrific music, and we talked about some of our ideas. That was show 43. Wow, you see, look at that. We still have time left. We still have more shows. You know, all these shows, all these people, all had something to contribute to you. To me, I just became a host here, and I brought people on to talk. But what I bring in is people who bring their passions to you. And when we were talking, we saw some of it, and we're going to see more people. But I'm going to show you how we might tie this together and try to create some of that with some of these people and others together and share the ideas with you, whether it be here in Maui or the world, whether you're a supporter by buying our tapes, our books, go to our shows, support our sponsors, make this thing all tie together to create an engine, an environmental economic engine, all by sharing goodwill and cooperation, not really unique ways, but talking about them in unique ways and publicly creating them in ways where the government will be supporting things that we can create in the private sector. Many of them could happen by themselves, but we hope to encourage and coax them. We also hope to talk about issues and create things like our next guest was Bo Hawks. Bo ran for political office. He's a bit controversial in his own right just by how dynamic he is. We discuss system of government and our society and concepts, and he's a very interesting guy. That was from May of last year, but you talk to Bo, it's all current, because it really is all current. Then we had that wasn't May of last year, that was May of this year. Then I had a man who is an old friend of mine, one of the great legends of Maui to me, Jim Loomis. Jim Loomis is just a wonderful man. If you go out into Welo and you see Loomis Lane, when it was a dirt road, and before it was a dirt road, and it was just beginning, and Jim owned the property, and Rico had the property next to him, and Tim was there, and down at the other end was Steve-O and Danya and Rick. This is 30 years ago, and now Jim Loomis has lived here, living, and been an example of someone who brought his great wisdom that was honored on the mainland. He brought it here and created an incredible community of people. And so we had a couple of shows with Jim. Actually, here we go. Look at that. Here's a second show we had with Lisa Darcy. I mentioned Lisa Darcy before. Share Your Mana'o Foundation, which is her foundation, helps homeless and challenge people and get them better understood and help them on the road toward living more positive, successful lives, successful by their own standards, and, be able to comfortably navigate some of these issues and challenges that we have going on. I can keep scrolling. I had Melinda gone for, again, 20 years plus, the Peace Poem Project and the Dr. Martin Luther King Peace Poetry Awards that she's done in schools for all these years, and she's a wonderful teacher herself. She is a fantastic lady. I'm looking and I see we got a minute left. Albert Perez, the director of Maui Tomorrow, was on. Obviously talking about important things about everything. Al's a wonderful guy. And Jim Loomis again, and Susie was on from the front, and Tiger Metcalf, and Alana Kay in Environmental Magazine, Tina Wildberger, our representative from Kihei, and David Johnston talking about a fruit festival, artist Savan Tometz. Next week, Shane Sinensi. We didn't talk about sponsorship yet, but you should look at the links about sponsorship, and you'll see unique ways that you can be involved with the Maui Arts and Music Association, with Maui Neutral Zone, with KAKU, all of us in supporting a better island and a better world. Now, we only have, 40 seconds to go. And I kind of made it through my shows, and we got more guests, and we're going to be having more guests, but let's see what direction. We'll decide after next week whether we're going to stay in this time slot and what we're going to do on radio. But keep looking for us, and looking for us on the web, MauiNeutralZone.com, at KAKU 88.5 FM on Facebook, on YouTube. We're almost out of here. We appreciate and love you. I'm Jason Schwartz. Let's get out of here and see what happens on the Neutral Zone, leaving you. Thank you for joining us. Aloha.